Welcome to A Right to Know. I'm your host and producer, Sherry B. And today we have an update on some testing that is really critical. We're going to be talking about a problem that affects everyone. If you live on planet Earth, if you breathe the air, if you're using the soil, if you are using the water, then thus far, we've seen that it's affecting everyone, but we have a solution, and that's why we're here. So first of all, we're going to be joined today with some very special guests. You've seen on A Right to Know, I've invited them back because we have some sort of late breaking info that we want to share. But in the meantime, very quickly, I just want to thank you all for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe. We were booted from YouTube, so I guess that's a badge of honor, and shadow banned, and I think also on Rumble being shadow banned. But we keep moving forward and bringing forth the truth. That's when you know you're hitting the target of truth. So we will overcome, pursue, and keep getting the good word out. Also, thank you for those who are taking advantage of, for example, MyPillow. If you use the promo code Sherry, SHERRY, or mypillow.com/Sherry, and they have great items. You can get up to 66% off certain items. So, and then we have a locals community where most of our guests and shows, we do a little bit extra after and post those on the locals. It's more of an exclusive interview, a little bit more for a smaller group. And there's all kinds of other great things posting on locals. So look below and click on that. And also the main thing, which is what our show is about today, is Masterpeace. That's one word, PEACE. So tune in and stay tuned because we're going to talk about that, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, and today we're going to bring on our two guests. We have the great honor to be joined with Dr. Robert O. Young from the USA, and also naturopath Caroline Mansfield, all the way from the UK. So thank you both so much for your time and for joining me again. Caroline, I'm going to go ahead and let you really quick just give what your credentials are, and then I'm going to go to Dr. Young really quick, and then we're going to start based on an article that you both recently wrote. Caroline.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be back on your show, Sherry. So I'm a naturopath and live blood analyst of the last 25 years, and a research analyst looking at product and efficacy, doing testing around product to confirm that the product does what it says it's going to do. So working with companies in that vicinity.
Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Young.
Yes, well, nice to see you, Sherry, and thank you for having me on your show. And my background is in colloidal chemistry and nanotechnology. I have a doctorate in science in those particular fields, and then also I have a PhD in nutrition and an ND or a naturopathic degree in naturopathy. And but I've studied a lot of different things as it relates to nutrition and associated to putting together multiple formulations based on my chemistry background, and also in herbology and homeopathy. So I was trained in Germany and also in the United States under the protege of Gunther Enderlin, Dr. Marie Blecker, and from Essen, Germany. So I have a background in pleomorphism and the terrain theory, which a lot of people are interested in now.
Excellent.
Besides having trained in microscopy there, both in compound light microscopy to X-ray spectroscopy to STEM, which is scanning and transmission electron microscopy.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the summation, because I know we could actually do a whole show on the bio of both of you. So thank you so much for joining me today. Now, recently, you've both co-written an article, Masterpeace Zeolite Z pilot study found to be safe and effective in removing nano and microtoxic forever chemicals, heavy metals, microplastics, graphene, and aluminum found in the human body cells and fluids. So first, I just want to, we've done many other shows, and please, I encourage you all to watch those other shows that you see on A Right to Know, whichever channel you're tuning in on. If you look on arighttoknow.com or A Right to Know on Rumble, you'll see all the other shows that we've done on this problem and the solution being Masterpeace. So the problem is, and I'm going to have Dr. Young talk about that also, is we've been finding heavy metals, forever chemicals, microplastics, micro and nano graphene and aluminum, and other toxic compounds from body cells and fluids, as you mentioned in your article here. And the objective of the study was to determine the safety and efficacy of Masterpeace Zeolite Z in detoxification of these micro and nanotoxins. Now, I just want to throw in there that there are actually patents that exist, and DARPA involved and other, big agencies. So there has been a plan to get these, for example, graphene, as it seems to be, into our system somehow, that work as antennas, that assemble themselves into microchips in our bodies. And the proof is under the microscope slides. You see one behind Dr. Robert O. Young right now, and he'll tell you what that is. And so we want to be ahead of the curve here, humanity. We care about humanity. And we also understand that when you have these microchips and graphene and forever chemicals, etc., heavy metals in the system, and then you kick in, oh, wow, that's another piece of the puzzle. That's quite interesting. You kick in 4G plus 5G, etc., antenna, radiation. Looks like a plan to me. So we do have a solution. Dr. Young, I'm going to go to you for a moment, and we're going to mostly focus this show on the solution, but I'm going to let you in 1 minute add anything to what I've just said about what we're finding the problem is and how long perhaps this has been going on.
Well, we're talking about toxicology and how that can be poisons or toxins can be transmitted or transfected to the human body, and what impact that has on the human body. So it's already been determined through tens of thousands of research papers that graphene, in the form of graphene oxide, whether it's two-dimensional or multi-dimensional material, it is cytotoxic, means it destroys the cells. It's genotoxic, which means it destroys the intelligence of that cell, and it is also magnetico-electro. So it has a surface charge which may or may not be, depending on the form of that particular molecule or chemical that were evaluated. What we found is a common denominator, particularly of interest, my interest in 2021, and then publishing an article on the using scanning and transmission electron microscopy in the identification of the undisclosed ingredients in vaccines, and specifically the Pfizer, the Moderna, the J&J, and the AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca has now been taken off the market because of its toxicity. And of course, the toxicity, or the common denominator amongst all those, is they have toxic forever chemicals. Those are what you're looking at behind me, and that green fluorescence that's showing up is a capsid of polyethylene glycol hydrogel. It's synthetic, and of course this is toxic to the body. but it acts as a delivery system to deliver contents, either through air, water, food, transfecting through injection, or nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals, through mosquito bites, ticks, and the personal hygiene products, so-called antibacterial salts, all contain this technology. And this technology is based upon a form of graphene or graphite that's reduced to graphene in an oxide form, which carries a positive surface charge and is toxic to the body. So what we found that was a common denominator in this delivery system was graphene oxide, as well as other elements that were attached to it, such as ferric oxide was one of the other compounds that was found using directed energy X-ray spectroscopy and using STEM, which is scanning electron microscopy. So these are showing up in the body of both the vaccinated and the unvaccinated, and they're highly toxic, they're highly magnetic, and what you're seeing inside that capsid is a rectangular, you see a rectangular black object. That black object, of course, using DES, directed energy spectroscopy, was identified as graphene oxide. And so this is being used, we have suggested, as a material that can act as a biochip or a biosensor to be able to receive and transmit signals. It's a way in which humans can be connected to the Internet of Things, or the Internet of Brains, or the Internet of Bodies, which there's a lot of research on this, specifically what is called W-band, which stands for Wireless Body Area Network, which is a DoD DARPA project that was carried out worldwide to infuse or inject this material and its biochipping capability, which also has self-assembly capability, to be able to assemble itself into these biochips activated by 3, 4, 5G frequencies. So it's activated by frequency. And we have pictures of what is called tesophoresis, where we see the self-assembly of these chips that takes place inside the body fluids, inside the interstitial fluids, and the vascular fluids.
Amazing. I think some people, I don't know if it could have gone over the heads of some people. It's almost like shocking what has been done, even the patents and the planning of this whole operation, I'll call it. And so you might want to listen to the show over again and listen closely what Dr. Robert O. Young just said. The thing is,
well, let me just sum simply what we're looking at. That has many ways of being transfected to the human body, either through chemtrailing, getting into the soil, into the water, into our food. We are finding this technology, which is both micron and millimicron, which means it can go, the technology is so small that it goes all the way down to atomic or subatomic levels. And is activated by electromagnetic frequencies. That's the connection between EMF and the nanotechnology. It creates this organized form, this biosensor, this biochip. So there was no, from my perspective, there was no pandemic. This was an operation that was carried out by the Department of Defense, who contracted with these various pharmaceutical companies to make this particular gain of function type product, nanotechnology, to deliver into the body fluids of human beings in order to connect them up to the cloud. And of course, some of the reasons they've listed is for medical reasons, for tracking, your blood pressure, your pulse, your blood sugars, to using this technology to deliver, let's say specifically, to, let's say, a degenerative area of the body where there's a lesion, a cancer, to be able to be a potential cure for cancer. So there could be some positive aspects to this technology. The problem is this was not disclosed. No one gave their elective consent to be injected with a technology that had never been proven, other than in the studies that were done, animal studies, killed all the animals. And so what we're seeing now is we're seeing excess mortality, anywhere from 30 to 40 to 60% in various symptomologies like cancer. It's excess mortality is called turbo cancer or turbo type diabetes. And this is being caused by this transfection of this technology, which has also been referred to as a bioweapon. I mean, it can be used to not only control people, track people, but it can also be used to eliminate people.
And I think it probably is being used on some level, or it wouldn't be found in. We're going to talk about the tests and what Caroline Mansfield has been, running tests and what she's been finding. Now, what we're going to, and we're going to go to Caroline now, and I just want to mention before that is that what we're talking about here is, here's the problem, which was so eloquently laid out by Dr. Young, and the solution that we found, which really hasn't even been out on the market for like a year, which is amazing. It's a godsend. Masterpeace, one word, Masterpeace. And in your article, Masterpeace Zeolite Z is a synergistic blend of natural ingredients, which is claimed to be effective natural product or nutraceutical available for detoxification, targeting and removing a wide range of toxic nano and micro compounds from the human body. Yeah, nobody asked me if I wanted this in my body, and I do not. So, Caroline, if you can, we're going to segue into where you came in here with your background, and I'm sure that's how you were asked to do testing, because that's your background, on people's blood. Please tell our audience who don't know of you what you've been doing here and what your findings are and the latest.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I'd love to talk about Masterpeace and just how phenomenal it's been at removing a lot of these toxins. But just to backtrack, I was introduced to Matt, who's the CEO of Human Consciousness Support, who is the developer of the product. And he was telling me how it's removing all these toxins. And I said to him, well, should we test that out? Because I found a lab. No one had been able to test this before, but I found a lab in Europe that was testing for graphene oxide and also all these environmental toxins that it's almost like we're being gaslit, that these can't be in us. We see all these patents and we see all this information, crossing our path, saying that we've got graphene oxide and all these, care products, water filtering in the chemtrails. But I feel people just find it very difficult to believe. So I think this is what was so phenomenal about doing this testing, was the fact that not only the amazing results that we got, but just initially the baseline results of how toxic the people are, because I think this is the first time a test had ever been done to test for graphene oxide inside people. So we had a mixture of test subjects, both vaccinated and unvaccinated. And
excuse me, before we go there, because some people actually don't understand what you mean by baseline. Just real quick.
Yeah, sorry. So a baseline test is when we're testing out test subjects to see what their baseline levels of toxicity are initially. And we didn't know what we were going to expect. We didn't know what we were going to find
before they start taking the nutraceutical or product before.
Yeah. So when the results first came back, I was like, I didn't even want to open them because I thought, well, we don't know what we're going to see here, and it's very nerve-wracking. So we opened them and found, wow, it's very high graphene oxide in people. Because I'd phoned around labs in the UK and asked whether they'd test for graphene oxide, and they said no. And I said, why not? And they said, because it's not in the human body. So, there's no lab that I have found anywhere else that will test for, specifically graphene oxide. But we also tested for things like polyethylene glycol and plastics, which we know are part of the hydrogel structure as well as forever chemicals. So that was our initial baseline. And then we asked the test subjects to take Masterpeace for 35 days. And at that point, we retested again to see what their levels were. And one of the test subjects had a 90% reduction in graphene oxide after just 35 days. And then everybody sort of tracked down by the 90-day mark. So everybody was coming down at the 35-day mark and then tracking down by the 90-day mark. But because we live in such a toxic environment, there were some elements, although they never went up to the high and very high ranges, they do fluctuate in the borderline and the tolerable ranges because of our daily intake of toxins, which again we didn't sign up for. But every time you have a takeout coffee, you're drinking plastic. Every time you make a cup of tea, tea bags are made of paper, but there's plastic in them. So we're having plastic that way. There's all different ways that we're getting this plastic into us. So with the polyethylene, the polypropylene. So, I mean, that was the amazing results that came through.
Yeah, so we're constantly being bombarded and we're getting things through chemtrails. And I know some of your subjects, I call it the jab. I don't call it the vaccine because it's not. It actually fits under the definition of a bioweapon injection, this last COVID one. And of course, the virus itself was never isolated under a microscope.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so many people, I just have to remind, and for those of you who don't know, COVID-19 was never isolated under a microscope. What does that mean? Okay. Yeah. ... Does it exist? Maybe not.
It's when something's repeated over and over again. It tends to go into the brain, and people couldn't, it's very hard for people to even comprehend that possibly there isn't such a thing. There isn't such a virus.
Right. Yeah. And, we've had it in the past. We've had little dress rehearsals with the H1N1 and et cetera in the past. So here we are. We're finding for people who are either got the jab or didn't get the jab, because I know you're testing everyone and that's great. And you're increasing the amount of people that you're testing, and you have increased, I think, to a list of perhaps up to 27.
That's correct.
Combination of some forever chemicals and heavy metals that you're testing for now. And
yes.
So I know you're going to give us an update because everybody's about, wow, when you can actually see. We're not just talking here and saying, hey, I think this stuff works great. I mean, I use it myself and I can tell you, I'm just going to share real quick because I haven't said it on a show. One of the amazing things for me has been that I don't have any more, a lot of people have their gums bleed, which is not good. It's not a good sign. I just went for my last teeth cleaning and they're like, wow, your gums aren't bleeding at all. Your teeth everything's great. And it's like, that's the only really difference of what I've done since the last time I went and got my teeth cleaned. And that's not usually the, response. So I know it's really great for me, and I've been sleeping better and my dreams are a lot more clear, in a really nice way. I don't know how else to explain it, but those are just small effects that I've seen. So this is being tested. Caroline has been doing the testing, but please give us the latest that you have, Caroline.
So initially in the pilot study, which we've now completed a paper on because of the results were so phenomenal, we had graphene oxide, polyethylene, polypropylene, and 2 forever chemicals, PFOAs and PFOS. And these are what are they're fire retardants. They're on our sofas and our carpets. When we're cooking, heat resistant utensils, etc. These are what can get into us in all different ways, shapes and form, but they're highly toxic for our system. they're genotoxic, they're cytotoxic, and they mess around with our hormones. They can affect our liver, so then we don't detox properly, on top of the fact that we're already taking in these extra chemicals. So they have a real bad knock-on effect, and they can affect the kidneys as well. So to be able to find a product that actually brings these levels down of these toxins that are affecting our ability to detox the body, it is just so important on Earth right now. Because we are just living in such a toxic environment, and the studies have shown this to be the case. Now, we've gone on now to do a new study, which is a double-blind placebo study with 24 test subjects, and we're testing for 27 compounds of environmental toxins, but also with the graphene oxide once again. And I have to tell everyone that there wasn't one person that didn't have a high level of graphene oxide in their body. So we are all affected, and I think this is the difficult thing for a lot of people to take on board, because it's just easy to think that potentially you're not affected, but everybody is affected, and this study is now proving that.
Right. And you know what? This doesn't have to be. This is not how we're supposed to be existing on planet Earth. I just say, to simplify it, the bad guys at the top, who are tied in with every system, including big pharma and, the banking system, and that you just name it. They've got us in this matrix of where they want to control us, and they're not going to win. I have no false evidence appearing real fear, because now as well as we have an answer. Now, one of the things mentioned here, Caroline, in your and Dr. Robert O. Young's article, it says inadequate detoxification or increased exposure to toxic substances can cause them to accumulate in the body fluids and body cells. These toxins can impair cellular processes such as energy supply through the respiratory chain in the mitochondria, or attach to DNA and form a DNA adduct with the IEC examination for intracellular electrical capacity. The intracellular amount of toxins in the lymphocytes can be determined, and possible exposure can be detected at an early stage. I mean, it's just the depth of how these toxins can affect us. Even mentioned the DNA. But let's go ahead with your latest findings, and you're welcome to sort of rattle off a couple of examples.
Yeah, so we haven't shown any details of the current study that's taking place until we get to the end of the study. So I've got no chance to show on that at the moment. But with the study that we did, as we said, these toxins get into our cells, and a red blood cell is 7 to 8 microns in diameter, for example. These toxins are smaller than red blood cells. They're in the nano range, and this is why with the Zeolite Z in the nano range, it goes in almost like tweezers, and it's able to pull out these toxins, the Zeolite Z, because it has a powerful negative charge, and it goes in and it attaches to these toxins which have a powerful positive charge, and this is the way it's doing it. And because they're so tiny, these little zeolites, they're nano size, they go everywhere where water goes in the body, so it's going through all the body system and pulling out these toxins. And it's just to be able to do that, to be able to go down into cell at that deep level to pull them out of our body is so important. And the tests have shown that this is what the product is doing. And this is what I love about doing this testing to prove out the efficacy of a product, and to show that it's safe as well. Because there's a lot of talk about zeolites releasing aluminium into the body, and people have been bringing that up. But we've actually tested out for aluminium as well, and the aluminium levels came down in both the interstitial fluid, through the urine, and also in the blood. So it does that bond, it's alumino-silicic acid, it does not break. So it's very safe to take, and it's just a great way of passively bringing out these toxins from the body.
Yes, and it's something that you and Dr. Young have mentioned in the past as far as being safely. It's almost like a cage. It cages, if you will, the toxins and removes them safely. And
it's got a cage structure, so it encases the toxin and it pulls it out the body, because zeolite cannot be absorbed or used by the body. So it leaves the body through the urine, but also through sweating, through perspiration, through breathing. It's why breathing is so important. Through respiration, deep breathing is also a way of detoxing. And a lot of people who are based in fear, they breathe very shallow breaths, at the top of their lungs. And actually that causes more anxiety. Doing deep belly breathing is very calming on the system, triggers the vagus nerve, and then we go from the fight or flight into the parasympathetic, where we're based in a more calm thinking. So also with the Zeolite Z, what we've noticed is people's anecdotal reactions to it. They're saying that they sleep better, they have more clarity, they feel a reconnection as well, because when we're clearing out these toxins, especially in the pineal gland, then we're able to connect into our intuition more. And if we're able to connect into our intuition, then we're able to make decisions for ourselves. We're not looking outside of ourselves for help, to make decisions. We can make these decisions ourselves. So we take control of our body and we do healthy things on a daily basis to try and help our body to navigate this toxic world, instead of looking to the pharmaceuticals as the answer. So people have a lot of turnarounds, especially feeling a sense of joy, because we've discussed as well that Masterpeace has a frequency of 602 on the Hawkins scale of frequency, which is where peace sits. So when people take the product, they feel very calm and peaceful, and joy is one of the words that a lot of people say that they feel back in their life again. So it's got a lot of different benefits going for it, Masterpeace.
That's really amazing. And it's so great to have solutions for humanity tested, proven, and we continue to do that. Caroline Mansfield, thank you once again for your time and joining me today on A Right to Know. And of course, Dr. Robert O. Young. And for everyone tuning in, you've probably seen a banner across, or there's certainly going to be a link below where you can find more about Masterpeace, or you can grab some for yourself. And it's really simple. I mean, the basic recommendation is 5 drops under the tongue in the morning and 5 in the evening. Very simple. One bottle lasts what?
One bottle will last between 1 month and 6 weeks, depending on how much you're taking. Some people tend to take bigger drops.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anyway, we're all about solutions and moving forward into the new paradigm, the kind of paradise here on Earth that we want to create for humanity, as it should be. I think we all here believe that, and that's what I'm putting out to create. So thoughts become things. Thank you, Caroline Mansfield, for joining me again today on A Right to Know. Dr. Robert O. Young, and everyone else, make sure to keep it tuned, because you have a right to know.